Many veterans struggle with PTSD, but there's another issue local researchers are working to understand and treat.
News 10's Justin Early explains the problem of moral injury in tonight's edition of Hearing the Veteran's Voice.
All the emotions and thoughts that I had pushed back for so long just came flooding in.
It's a feeling that just sweep up on you, but it's real.
My own family didn't understand it all. I was very angry.
Veterans have a world of emotions and experiences to deal with after leaving active duty. These men are being treated for PTSD, but that's not the diagnosis for everyone.
You have to be put in fear of imminent injury and death and react with fear or horror to that life-threatening situation. To get PTSD, you have to have that.
Michael Russell is the director of the Center of Excellence for Research on Returning War Veterans. He explained the idea of moral injury.
You have guilt over something that you did or something that you failed to do. Okay, so you either did some wrong or you failed to do some right in a military situation. And as a result, you're suffering trauma from that or problems from that.
As a veteran who served in Iraq, Russell has grappled with these concepts himself, namely the removal of Saddam Hussein and onset of ISIS.
They destroyed everything. You know, we created that monster. He kept those people at bay, okay? And we took that away, and we didn't put anything in its place that protected those people. And a lot of people died. 750,000 Iraqis died because of that.
And it can be difficult to overcome.
Moral injury, it's actually hard to feel like you're worthy of fitting back into society. You're carrying this guilt. You don't feel like you belong in polite society.
Russell gave the example of drone pilots, many times working remotely from the United States, hitting targets overseas, and sometimes making deadly mistakes.
They think it's a terrorist hideout and they blow up a wedding or they blow up a birthday party or they blow up a hospital. Okay, this has happened. You know, it's an accident. You make your best judgment, but you find out afterwards that it was a bad call.
But because the individual's life was never directly in danger, they don't fit the PTSD diagnosis.
So what do you do with that? What do you call that? How do you treat that? Right now, you can't.
Because moral injury is not a diagnosis accepted by the VA, many people may not be getting treated for it.
Either we need to change the definition of PTSD, okay, and broaden it to include moral injury, or we need to make a new diagnosis called moral injury and let these people have services.
Now, the center, under Russell's leadership, is trying to change that.
My intention is to make this a moral injury center of excellence, okay, to be the leaders in bringing this idea out.
Among their initiatives, developing an assessment tool for moral injury.
So we can better classify people, prescribe the right therapy for them, bring them in and test them and say, is it PTSD mainly? In which case, we're going to give this treatment to you, or is it moral injury mainly? In case we're going to give this treatment to you.
They're also trying group therapy, intense outpatient therapy, and ACT therapy, that stands for acceptance and commitment.
The best way when I'm working with people is this idea of the scales being unbalanced. You know, you did something wrong, you know, it's out of whack, and what we need to do is balance the scales. And sometimes what you have to do is give back something to balance those scales. So sometimes it's a call to action to do something good to make up for the bad.
Russell hopes through this research, people can get the help they need.
It's my hope that we can get some good data, which we can take to these people and convince them to either make a war-related trauma diagnosis separate from PTSD, or add moral injury, or, you know, just broaden the definition.
Now, next week, veterans open up about suicide.
We will hear from veterans who have considered it and prevention efforts in Central Texas. Rusty.
Thanks, Gordon.